October 10th, 2006. FSX is released to the world and it completely revolutionised flight simulation forever, alongside this iconic annoying theme of course. Then it kinda stunted for a while and nothing else really new came out and Microsoft shut down the Asus team that developed it. However, we all stuck by this poorly optimised game through thick and thin for a whole 10 years. Today we take a look back at the game as it was, a few features that people just forgot about, and take a look at some of the stories you guys have shared. First of all, the theme song. It's actually called Pilot for Hire and it's by a guy named Stan Lepard. Stan Lepard is a famous game theme song composer who also worked on games such as Destiny, Guild Wars, Plants vs Zombies and a couple of the Halo games. But did you know there are actually 8 different themes? If you go to the settings, there's actually a drop down list which lets you change it to something else. I'll however leave you to go to this menu and listen to these ones for yourself. Who here remembers the FSX trailer? You know, the cringe fest that was the guy in the cafe landing his 737 on that multiplayer server. Well, did you know that was actually the second official trailer for the game? There is one forgotten teaser trailer that released soon before the game came out, and oh boy, it's bad. Yeah, I think we've had enough of that one already. There are also a selection of airports around the FSX world that are also glitched and broken due to an issue of the world mesh and how it's all stitched together. But I've covered this in another previous video, just click the annotation to watch. There is also a different selection of pilot voices to choose from. Since FSX defaults on Pilot 0, most people use the voice of Hal Bryan, a former flight sim community evangelist and senior editor for the game back on the Asus team. He reveals this during an FS Elite podcast he was on.
And now would be a good time to lie and say that all of you always have used Pilot Voice 0 male because that's the best one. Because that's my voice. So if you choose that voice, anytime your pilot talks, you're hearing me talk.
Helsinki cleared for delivery, thin air 8563 IFR Heathrow, ready to copy. Thin air 8563 cleared to Heathrow Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 12000. Departure on 119.1, squawk 4401.
Something else people may not know is that default airports do have functioning jet bridges. If you go to an airport and press Ctrl J at a gate, a jet bridge will reach towards the aircraft's front passenger door. Shift F also calls a fuel truck to the aircraft and lets you refuel your aircraft within the game without having to go to the menu. And to open multiple different doors, you can use Shift E along with the numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the keyboard. By opening the cargo door, it also calls over a baggage handling truck to also go to your aircraft along with a conveyor belt. You can also change the direction of the aircraft during pushback 2. If you use Shift P1, the aircraft faces to the left. If you use Shift P2, the aircraft faces to the right. But it's not very accurate as you can see. Now, how can we celebrate the 10th anniversary without a few stories? Here's mine. I'll have to go back to 2011 when I was at my nan's house. I decided to fly from London Stansted to Rzeszów Jastrzębie in the Boeing 737, and it's one of Ryanair's longer flights that stays within the boundaries of Europe as opposed to their odd Turkish flight. I was only 12 and this was before I knew what autopilot was. I had my Xbox controller with me, so I basically flew the Boeing 737 aircraft for a good 2 hours manually. My thumbs were all cramped afterwards, but I felt proud of that. Had I known about autopilot then, I probably would have kicked myself as it was a long flight and the cramps really were not worth it, but I can't complain. Rohith Augustine here tells us that he's been on FSX for a year and a half now, and he does enjoy the fact that it's still very popular among simulants like him after 10 years. However, he does dislike the performance and how it can sometimes be pretty bad, but does say that if you can get to prepare 3D level, it would be the best simulator ever. Good on him. Yuzuru Tonashi tells us that she's been on Flight Simulator for a year and 5 months now and so far loves it. Really enjoys the freeware aircraft, but recently got themselves the Microsoft Airbus X Extended, and they've enjoyed FSX even more. They don't really have best moment because they've got lots of them, but worst moment has to be going from Manila to Singapore in the A320 Tiger Air and suddenly autopilot disconnected for the rest of the flight. But otherwise, the Airbus by Aerosoft X is amazing. Again, I can agree with that one. The Aerosoft Airbus X is pretty amazing, but I'm happy with the Wilco one at the moment. It's slightly cheaper, and I guess it's not too bad. G-Specs are being pretty simple here. Just happy anniversary FSX, giving them 10 years of great flying fun. And yeah, 10 years, and it has really been a great experience for most people who play FSX. We have Washington, who was flying from Norfolk to Washington with extreme level thunderstorms in the Embraer ERJ-175. He enjoyed the flights, but it was getting thrown around like it was nothing, and he was basically waiting for the wings to fall off the plane, although that's not modelled in FSX. If you want that, go to Aerofly FS. Yeah, he did make a safe landing at Washington Ronald Reagan Airport, but he had to use more than half the ride to compensate, so fair enough, mate. As I always say, if you can walk away from it, it was good enough. Mikosmo remembers back in Microsoft Flight Simulator 5 when he'd get a frame rate of less than 1 per second on his old Voodoo, and it was awesome to him. Made a hard landing, sounded terrible with his 3D Sound Blaster Pro 2. He does miss Mixfield, however, which was basically an airport in, I believe it was in Chicago, which was closed down against the mayor's will to try and stop flights from it, and it was all a bit of a mess. But at some point he wants to get a real pilot certificate and try to fly there himself. And finally, How Do I Land remembers back when he used FSX as 11-year-old, who was already aware of Flight Simulator 2004. He could run it at 25 frames per second, which was before he realised add-ons existed, on his amazing 2006 store-bought HP computer. He dropped himself over Friday Harbour in A321 and loved it instantly by getting 5-10 frames. He was ralph-handing with his friends, ended up breaking a finger. Not to be deterred, he carried on flying from Friday Harbour to Seattle in the Baron 58s. On the cast one hand, keyboard controls only, no knowledge of how to get to Seattle beyond. LAR looks about right, navigation. Needless to say, he got 500 feet before dumping the Baron into the San Juan channel. Fair enough, mate. One-handed, no idea what you're doing, and on keyboard commands as well. Well then, that is FSX in all its glory. 10 years of using the same old flight simulator, and only now are we seeing a new one comes out. With the release of Dovetail Games Flight School and X-Plane 11 in November, and the unnamed Dovetail Flight Simulator coming out next year. But until then, it looks like we will all be using the good old Microsoft Flight Simulator X for a good while to come. Don't forget to check out flightsim.com, as I have made an article for it about the history and development of this game over the last 10 years. Link is in the description, and thank you for watching.